Good morning, it's today again. Welcome back to Joseph's Reserves. I'm Joseph and I store 20% of my income in the form of rare coins and precious metals. Yesterday I started counting all of my silver and today is part 2. We ended off yesterday with 170 ounces from just my 5 ounce and 10 ounce products as well as my American Silver Eagles. Today we're going to continue through the rest of my coins as well as the generic silver ounces that I have. Before we move on, congratulations to His to Venturer for being the first comment on my last video. Go down into the comments and find him to start a conversation. So yesterday we started our count with American Silver Eagles, and today we're going through all of the other coins from sovereign nations. We're going to start with Canadian Silver Maples. Canadian coins come in tubes of 25, but this here in my date run is only 23 coins. I do also have the 2025 set aside in a capsule, as well as a few other ones set aside that we'll have to find. The Canadian Maple Leaf is the main series produced by the Royal Canadian Mint, and they do have many other coins. Right now I'm just going to count the 1 ounce versions, and we'll get to the fractional or sub 1 ounce coins soon. Here I have the Lucky Dragon. They started this series in 2017. I have 4 of these: 2017, 18, 19, and 2020. I'm still looking whether or not they continued that series all the way until present day, but I haven't found any that are after 2020. This next coin is part of the Birds of Prey series by Canada. This one in particular is the Falcon from 2016. And that actually does it for my 1 ounce Royal Canadian Mint products. So that totals to 29 ounces, and when we add that to the 170 from part 1, we get 199 ounces. We will go ahead and put these Canadian maples aside and start looking at all of the other sovereign coins. These I just kind of have mixed throughout multiple tubes or in these capsules, so it'll be almost like a little treasure hunt. I've been wanting to work on the date runs for all of these sovereign coins, but at the current prices, it seems like a whole ounce of silver is a little bit more than I'm wanting to spend on just continuing the date run. I'm a bit of a typeset collector, so having one type of each series seems to be enough for now, but I will likely expand that as I continue stacking. So in this green tube, I have 16 ounces from various countries. We started with Australia, now to Armenia, then South Africa, and this tube finishes out with Austria. These coins are somewhat of my side stack, the ones that I would probably be okay with selling off first, the ones that I would like to have more of, but I'm not focusing on them right now. And that's a bit of my mindset when it comes to these other sovereign coins that are not American or Canadian right now. It would be really nice to make this collection quite a bit larger and collect a whole lot of other coins from around the world, but right now I'm actually replenishing a lot of my surface stack that is just made up of generic ounces and bars. Here I have 6 Britannias, so that's another one that I want to focus a lot more on. But like I was saying, because I've been trading a lot of generic ounces, I feel like I have to replenish that for my surface stack to kind of protect everything else. And let's see, here I actually found some more Royal Canadian Mint coins, but these are the animals, and they're honestly a little bit milk spotted, so I might end up trading these for some better looking ones. I think that's why I had them separated. Once I finish my count on all of my silver, I think I'm going to make some videos going into detail on what I have from each country, so that way I can take the time and go through each series that I collect and what I have and what I'm looking for. Next up are some of my favorite coins, and I actually store them in a tube of the original packaging, these Mexican silver libertads. They're one of my favorite coins, and I just like that I have this original tube that I keep them in. This is my date run here. I have 5 of them, so they actually start in 1882, and so far I have them going up to 1986. I believe they started getting a lot more rare after that. And I have a few more sovereign coins in the mix. The rest are either graded or just set aside in capsules. So when it comes to the modern bullion, if I ever pick it up graded, I'm definitely going to want the MS70. For me, it doesn't make any sense that a coin can come directly from a mint and not get a 70 grade. I do understand that not all coins are perfect. However, if it's coming directly from the mint, any imperfections should be accounted for within the grading. So I don't really understand a modern bullion having a 69, especially if it came directly from the mint, to go right into the grading services. And because of that, I don't think that any of these graded coins should have extra premium on them just because they are a 70. It doesn't seem like they're any special or anything different than what you would get raw. But I do also have these two coins. This is an older Krugerrand and the Liberty and Britannia coin from the Royal Mint. I believe America also made one, so those two together would be a pretty cool set. Well, the count for all of those other sovereign coins comes to 36 ounces of silver, totaling 235 now. And of course, next up we have generics. This is where I think my surface stack actually starts. So with these small poured 1 ounce bars, I have 14 of them, and I just really enjoy how these look, how they're a little bit chunkier and more unrefined looking when it comes to the shape. Of course, they're all the same size and shape, but just because they are somewhat poured or cast, they have a completely different feel than, say, a pressed bar. And because of the finish, it allows you to actually touch the silver without worrying about leaving any fingerprints or anything like that. I also like that they fit into this 1 ounce bar tube. This tube wasn't made for coins of this shape or size, but it's just interesting that they all do fit in regardless. And since these are all bars that I'm putting in here, I do have 2 other bars that I've been struggling to find a really good place to store them. So I think there's room in this for my 2 other 1 ounce bars. And these ones are actually coin bars. They're from Australia. They're part of my Dragon collection. So real quick, we'll take a look at these bar coins. And remember, what makes them a coin is that they are denominated. So because they're from a sovereign mint, Australia, and they're denominated, that actually makes them a bar coin. Now we're moving on to this tube of generic rounds. As we take a look, you'll see that I like to collect specifically sunshine mining or sunshine minting, depending on how old they are. And speaking of how old they are, I like vintage rounds. Now remember, this is where I said that my surface stack starts. So again, my surface stack is now just things that I actually do enjoy to hold on to. So this is what I mean by I'm having to replenish nearly all of my surface stack. Between this tube, my collection of angle hearts that I have in plastic, and my 1 ounce coins from my Dragon collection, all make up 24 ounces, and added to the 16 ounces of my 1 ounce bars makes 40 ounces of generic silver. And exactly to my point, those 40 ounces did not sound like surface stack material. At this point, I would probably rather sell my other sovereign coins section before I tap into most of these vintage or slightly collectible generic silver ounces. So for me, it's time to start putting a little bit more focus into buying 1 ounce silver rounds that I really don't care about much and would be okay with selling. But really the reason that I'm lacking in those right now is because I just sold so many of them trading into gold and or platinum. Overall, I'm extremely happy with the trades that I made. I'm just now realizing that I need to start shifting my focus to replenish my surface stack. Within those 24 generic ounces, I did include these Mexican Casa de Monedas as well as my Mercury head in those 40 ounces. So these are not really made as generics. However, they would probably be treated that way when brought into a coin shop. So that's where I'm putting them. But next up, we actually have fractional generic silver. If anything, this is where I've been focusing mostly the past few months, and really this could be considered my surface stack. However, fractionals typically have such a high premium that it's hard to really view these as easy to sell. I've been doing my best not to speed up the video, but this is just a whole lot of stacking up and counting, so I'm going to speed this up and just talk through what I have in this little plastic bag and this tube. So here I have 14.5 ounces in half-ounce silver rounds, 6 3/4 ounces in quarter-ounce rounds, and 9 ounces in 1/10 ounce rounds. I say rounds, but there are some coins that slipped in there, like what me and my family call the baby Britannias, or the 1/10 ounce Britannia coin. So these fractional coins here actually account for a total of 30 1/4 ounces, which brings our total to 305 1/4 ounce. I've really been enjoying picking up these fractional silvers. I feel like these are a new way to enter into silver for people just starting out, as well as a way that you can maintain a dollar cost average by getting, say, 1 ounce and 3/4 of an ounce, where before we might have been able to pick up 2 or 3 ounces. Because of this, I have a feeling that fractional silver is going to be in a much higher demand very soon, and the premiums could be going even higher, which is actually a good thing if you're able to buy it now at a lower premium. If you buy something now at a lower premium and the premiums return, then when you eventually do need to sell those, you'll be able to sell them at the higher premium mark and get more per ounce back. So even though some of these do have a little bit of a premium on them, in my opinion, the premium is very low for the value that you're actually getting. The benefit of, at these high prices, being able to be so divisible that you can maintain your dollar cost average or sell any very specific amount that you might need in order to cover exactly that bill that you are selling for. Let's say, for example, you're in some sort of slight emergency and you need $550 to be exact. It'd be really hard to get that exactly in 1 ounce coins, so being able to sell a few 1 ounce coins as well as maybe a half ounce and a 1/10 ounce or a quarter ounce, whatever it is that you might actually need, it'll allow you to maintain your silver position as much as you can. You won't need to sell $600 or $700 worth of silver in order to cover a lower amount of money. Most stackers use 90% for this exact point that I'm talking about. However, now that we've seen what happens to 90% when refiners are stressed, it will become more and more important to have fractional pure silver. Then the rest of my pure silver actually are of sizes that don't quite fit the 1 ounce, half ounce, quarter ounce, or 1/10 ounce, like these 2 ounce rounds. I have this Scottsdale stacker. It's imprinted on the back so that they fit into each other as you stack up, as well as this 2 ounce dragon from Samoa. Those 2 rounds add another 4 ounces, making 309 1/4 ounces. And then everything else here is going to add a whole lot of decimals, so we'll kind of do this all together. It's not a whole lot here, but of course every little bit adds up, so we'll definitely include it in our count. And we'll start with these 3 9s proof quarters. So up until 2019, they were making 90% proof quarters, and now they make them out of 3 9s fine silver. Each of these quarters contain barely over 1/5 of an ounce, so we're just going to equate them to 1/5. That means 5 of them here is going to be 1 ounce, and I have 12 of them, but let's take a look at these designs here. These are the designs from 2019 all the way to present day, so some of these are actually quite beautiful coins. This one here, the tall grass, being actually one of my favorite designs in all of the America the Beautiful series. So those 12 account to 2.4 ounces of silver. And next we have 2 100-gram bars to go along with these 20-gram coins that are the history of America from Liberia. It's a really interesting series, but they are 20 grams of pure silver, and with these 2 100-gram bars, that makes 280 grams, which is 0.07 grams more than exactly 9 ounces. So it's safe to say that these will count as 9 ounces of silver. My next off-weight silver actually comes from the Royal Canadian Mint and the US Mint. These two animal portraits are each 3/4 of an ounce, totaling 1.5 ounces together, and I have this 3/9 fine Morgan dollar. The original Morgan dollar was 0.77344 ounces, but this one in pure silver to the same dimensions comes out to 0.859 ounces. When I add that to my 1.5 ounce from the Royal Canadian Mint, that actually comes out to 2.359 ounces of silver. And of course, with a product like this, I want to maintain any packaging that it came with so that it holds any premium that I paid. Last but not least, I do have some silver shot and a few grains of silver. This shot is 1,485 grains of silver that I'm planning on using for a special project coming in the future, as well as these grain cards, this one being 24 grains, and then I do have 5 other 1 grain cards. Altogether, this shot and these grains add up to 3.1521 ounces. I do also have these pure silver that are plated in 18 karat gold. These were some collectible coins back in the 70s and 80s that were sold by third-party companies. These are replica coins of gold coins. Unfortunately, they're not quite accurate to the size. However, they are pure silver. I will just have to crack them out of these capsules and weigh them to get an actual weight of how many ounces of silver they are. But that I think I'm going to do in an entirely different episode so that I could talk about these products specifically. They are stamped on the edge 3/9 silver plated in 18 karat gold. But again, we're going to include that on another video. So far in this section right here of the pure silver, well actually not including the plated gold ones, this section here of pure silver, we have 326.1611 ounces of silver. This video is already starting to get a little bit long, so it seems like we're going to have to get to the rest on part 3. So I'll leave you with this. Just remember, every ounce adds up, so no matter how small, just keep stacking. Wow, you even stayed after the beep. Well, you can write me now at 10160 Highway 242, Suite 800, number 401, Conroe, Texas, zip code 77385. Make sure to include your information so I can write you back.